Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining the Contributor Comms Upstream Marketing Team meeting on Friday, November 12th. I would love for you to hop right in and add yourself to the attendees list on the agenda. Thank you, Josh, for sharing it. And like we always do, we're starting with the updates and sort of big wins. I'm gonna steal the beginning of the mic and just say, this is my last time hosting. As I mentioned on the mailing list, I'm stepping down from the program lead of this amazing group of people. And we have a bunch of really talented people, including Chris and Kaslin, and a couple other regulars who are all interested in co-chairing and are thinking through that model going forward. But I guess just want to pass it to, Chris and Kaslin. How are you all thinking about who's hosted next week?
I'll take it. Oh, why not?
I do not want to host an 8 a.m. Friday meeting when I can avoid it.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Cool. All right. I just want to confirm it right at the top that this is going to keep happening. So thank you, Chris. And thank you all for coming here. It's really, really awesome to see a great group of people and that we've created a space that people feel they can contribute to Kubernetes. And also we can help Kubernetes contributors talk to each other, which has always been the theme and is really valuable. Great. Other updates, big wins people want to highlight? See, there's a link to the contributor comms reorganization. This is really looks like there's a little bit of adjustment. Justin just left me to fix it up. But the goal of, or Stephen Augustus, I mean. So the goal of this one is to just capture all of what's been working about this group. We had an idea of what it would look like about, oh my God, almost 2 years ago. And that was a great premise. And what we found is it works a little differently in practice. So I wanted to kind of sign off by making sure I'm checking the box of documenting what we've learned and mapping it into where it is in the repo. And that is that one. If you want to look through it, I'm going to try to get that merged as soon as possible. And just a reminder, like, you can always keep improving everything. There's a ton of documentation here. We've done our best to intentionally link it to each other and not have stuff contradict each other. But inevitably, with this many people contributing to something this large, there's going to be drift. And when you see something, definitely feel free to jump in and update it or open an issue to fix it.
What is holding? Is it just you need to do these reviews? Is that
Yeah,
the only thing holding it back?
I think it needed to go through a review that Paris was helping us get through with the steering committee, and it has done so, and folks like it. And Stephen just found a couple typos slash like smaller requests he wants me to tidy up, and I think after that it should be good.
Okay. Yeah, I only see like one review left.
Yeah, I think it's still got a hold on it.
It does. Steering,
Yeah,
there
so
is minor change here. The new example roles section in SIG governance.
Cool. So I'll double check on that, but I'll poke in and make sure that keeps happening. But definitely, this is also a really interesting case. If you're new and you don't mind, if you're GitHub friendly, you don't have to know Git and Git commands in order to be part of this group. But if you're interested in like what does a review process look like, this is a really textbook example of a lot of people tagging in and getting the review necessary to make sure things click. So if you have questions, you can always come back with them. But yeah, I'll keep working through that.
Let me know if you need anything.
Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
Next up, Katacoda scenarios. It looks like there's a new repository.
It was, Krish, Kaslin, they once said they will review it. So did you guys see through it. Also, I took reviews from few of the folks, and according to DIMS, for the new repository and the new integration that is required. So we have to put this new issues in org. There is a template for that. I'll put that, but yeah, this is my first time, creating new repositories. So I'm confused about the owner's file and all those, security contacts and all those things. So I need help with that.
Okay, great. So, well, first off, congratulations. Going through this for the first time is a milestone, and that's really awesome. Okay, so you're saying you need some help kind of navigating this. Who here has kind of gone through that sort of review cycle before and maybe could help Deborah get through it?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely shepherd this, unless Josh, you want to shepherd it somehow, some way.
Thank you.
But is the big issue just creating the new repo? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, also it needs third-party integration. So we also have to open an integration piece for the Katacoda scenario authorship. So that's also.
Okay. That I've never done before for sure.
I probably misunderstood a task. I thought it was like there's a Katacoda scenario, which I'll have to review.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, I have put it in the docs. So you go to this link, and there are one scenario for upstream contributors. You have to just.
Okay, I see. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So to break down the different requests, because this is a pretty big project, and that's great. It's helpful to be clear about what we need to what degree. I think Juan is helping with a review of the actual content of the scenario. But you're also asking like
New repo needed.
Wants help getting
I guess I don't understand why this is in this meeting.
Okay.
Fair point. Why so?
Well, because this is the contributor comms, etc. meeting. So like if you want a new repo, you'd bring it to the main ContribEx meeting.
I did that. Also, Bob suggested me to come up with the the ownership will be SIG ContribEx. So I've talked about this. I needed this co-owners and the security contact. So I was confused about that, and the review are being done by the contrib comms. So that's.
Yeah. Okay, you brought it up here. I would say also put it into ContribEx Slack and that sort of thing, because in a lot of ways, the Katacoda thing is more of a mentoring sub-project task. I mean, honestly, the big thing that this group could do would be once it's up is to let everybody know that it's available.
Totally.
We actually have not had a self-paced, learn how to do Kubernetes contributions technically before. So
and to recap, the reason it started here was it was a content review of like, hey, is the grammar of this, is the flow of this good? Which but yeah, it's one of those fits across the whole spectrum of ContribEx, and we don't have like a great one-stop shop. Use this guide and you'll get through it, but we will help you get through it. So just keep at it. Sounds like next step might be to share it in ContribEx, or I'm sorry,
I'll put it.
You were saying Bob recommended what exactly?
Yeah, so there's something called SIG ownership required. So Bob recommended that SIG ContribEx will take the ownership. So yeah, it's done. So now I will put in the mailing list. I'll put this in the SIG ContribEx mailing list as well as in the Slack. And let's see.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll just keep checking in on it in this meeting as needed, or async in our Slack channels. And if it keep trucking along, if it gets stuck, somebody will tag in and help you get unstuck. So thanks. Congrats. You're the first person to bring this into the Kubernetes world. So that's a big freaking deal.
It is a big freaking deal.
Yeah, a lot of people actually helped out. Dims and Madhav, they were really.
Okay, good.
No, I just did the last work of creating it, but there has been a long discussion that has been going on, I think, spanning for a year regarding this.
Cool. Well, take some of the credit but give it to everybody else too, for sure. Great work. Great. Any sort of articles in progress we want to check in on? Don't know if anything's had much motion lately, to be honest.
So I created the first draft of the SIG multi-cluster spotlight, and I sent the editable version to Chris. It's a bit different because like I'm narrating from a speech to text, so I wanted to get Chris's take on the first 2 answers I added, and based on his inputs, I'm gonna, I guess, frame the later questions. And my goal is once I have Chris's review on that, I'll pass that on to Jeremy and then start the formal PR review process.
Cool. So you need me to go through the comments basically?
No rush. So I added like the intro and the answers to the first 2 questions. So if you could kindly check like if those answers seem okay based on your discussion. And you can add actually comments. So I added in a HackMD link. You can add comments there. And then yeah, maybe once you do that, I'm gonna add the other questions.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I can knock
Awesome.
that out
Thanks.
real quick.
Beautiful. All right, on to new items. Any new requests coming in, discussions to be had? Looks like there's a Docker shim removal survey blog post.
Yeah, this one's hairy.
Yeah, I wanted to put that on there just because, so this is something SIG is doing. Is the writer of the blog post on this call? I didn't think they could make it, which is why I put it on the agenda.
Survey? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something SIG is doing because there was obviously a big stir in some unfortunate ways about the Docker shim removal when it was first deprecated. But we now have the actual removal date looming in 1.2.4. And SIG is not sure that users have paid any attention to that in the intervening year. And so they want to do a number of things, including try to get a user survey out there in order to find out how ready people are. Because for people who haven't followed this, so Docker shim has been a Kubernetes component for a long time. It's what allows you to run Kubernetes on top of regular Docker, which was never designed to be a component in a system. And we're not going to support it anymore because for people who still want to use Kubernetes with Docker, as far as we're concerned, the answer is containerd. Docker shim is extremely painful to maintain, and nobody wants to work on it. So regardless of what people want to use as their runtime, they're going to have to take action in 1.2.4 if they have been using Docker shim in the past. They can switch to Docker CRI. They can switch to, apparently there's a fork of Docker shim being maintained by Mirantis, I believe. But none of it is just install 1.2.4 and keep running. Node wants to get the lay of the land. I mean, what the survey is, they want to get the lay of the land. And one of my questions for this group, in addition to, I suggested that they do a small blog post as a reference to the survey. What other channels do we have for reaching users as opposed to contributors? Because my concern is our contributors are probably a lot more aware of the pending removal of Docker shim than the non-contributing users are.
Absolutely. I mean, the Kate's contributor handle, we can always go SCNCF to retweet whatever at some point, but like getting out to end users, we don't really have a great way, do we?
Yeah.
No, I mean, the whole demarcation is we were never intended to be a source of truth for users. So, but I think we should really lean on CNCF in this heavily. I'm sure we could get Chris to share something publicly. Maybe we start by sharing on our Twitter and then use that as a way of saying, and ping people behind the scenes, like, could you please amplify this message for users, and just really make sure the language is sculpted to be like, users of Kubernetes, like this is coming up and we really need your feedback. It's urgent. Like, make it as obvious as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So and that was, by the way, that was also one of my reasons for suggesting that we get the blog post up, because
perfect. That's a really good call, Josh.
We need something to link to, and I don't feel like linking directly to a Google form because that feels sketchy.
I always feel like I'm getting hacked.
And one more thing would be, we can use the help of CNCF ambassadors. We can have them.
Good idea. Thank you.
Personal account, so that
is a terrific
multiple
idea.
Channels will go, and maybe ask them to post a 20-second video or something, like whatever is feasible for them and how they connect with their audience. So like end users and who are trying out the Kubernetes platform. So it's going to be a big reach because we have a very powerful ambassadors. So that's going to be a good one.
Okay. That's a really good idea. If nobody from Node is directly an ambassador, I can always take it.
I can shepherd it through once it goes out the Cage contributor door. So because I'll likely approve that PR, so I'll just amplify it in the ambassador channel.
That was a brilliant point.
And the focus is
there's literally a group of people who are committed to doing this.
I mean, mind you, if we hear from mostly contributors and we find that our contributors are running Kubernetes on top of Docker and they're not prepared for Docker shim removal, then that certainly tells us something.
Yes.
This is my first time attending here, so like I'm like first trying to become a contributor, an active contributor. So right now I am still an end user. So
well, awesome. Hey, this is a good.
So moment. Are you running Kubernetes on top of Docker?
Are you using Docker shim by chance?
Yes.
So far as I know, we are using KubeVirt. Sorry on that.
What are you apologizing for? I'm a contributor to KubeVirt.
I'm sure your team is not sorry about it.
Sorry about that.
You asked me like you excited, are you using Docker shim? So if you are, okay, let's move you, let's kind of like do something on YouTube.
No, but if you're
that was lovely. You know what?
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I think we've just had like the similar people showing up each week that we got out of the habit of doing introductions. So I did want to just pause for a second and say, like, are there any other? Would you like to introduce yourself further? And I don't want to mispronounce your name, so could you pronounce your name for us?
Hello everyone. This is my first time being here. I'm Narendran. That's my full name. That's my Indian name. So you can shortly call me as Naren. So I started my Kubernetes journey last year, mostly because of Chris and all the amazing people at the Red Hat Twitch, OpenShift Red Hat Twitch, and all the Kubernetes Slack people. So I've been a self-learner. So right now I'm doing all things in Kubernetes and preparing myself to do the CKA and CKAD and CKA certifications. So that's me. Happy to be here. And I'm trying to become an active contributor than user. So taking my steps, baby steps, one by one. So start attending SIG ContribEx meetings and SIG docs meetings simultaneously. So to get into the ecosystem and know how things work properly, how things are going, and to know the feel of how things are happening. So that's it.
Cool. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Welcome, Naren. Anyone else?
I'll go if nobody else is here. So hi, I'm Sri Karan, but people generally call me either Sri or Karan because I guess too many syllables. So my Kubernetes journey started because I found a bunch of people on Twitter that were really, really interesting. I mean, shout out to Dan Pop. I found a bunch of those people that were active in the whole ecosystem. And I started trying to learn about Kubernetes is and whether I could get involved. Right as I was doing that, I think Bill Mulligan tweeted out saying scholarships for KubeCon NA 2021 were through a Hail Mary, got accepted and had like a wonderful, wonderful experience at KubeCon. And the people that I met there and the brilliant ideas that would bounce off of me, well, sort of encouraged me to come out here, start contributing, look at what I could possibly do to give back. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you too, Shrikant. That's wonderful. I mean, love hearing stories like that. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, yeah, go for it.
Let me introduce myself. A lot of the regulars know me, but here, I'm Josh Burkus. I've been in SIG Contributor Experience for a long time. I don't usually make this meeting because, to be honest, Friday is usually my only day when I don't have to get up early. Because I'm on the US West Coast. Relevant to this group, I'm involved in a couple of things, one of which I put on the agenda, so we'll discuss that later on. The other one is I'm one of the 2 writers of Last Week in Kubernetes Development, which is actually a sub-project of this group, although it's been pretty much exclusively me and Noah. If somebody ever feels like getting involved in LWKD, that would be fun. Just ping me in the ContribEx Slack. We put together each issue on Mondays in order to cover the previous week of development.
LWKD, is there any page or something like that?
Yep, lwkd.info.
Okay, bookmarking that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really wonderful way to keep the pulse.
It's been going for three and a half years now, something like that. It's a little ridiculous. It started out as a newsletter that I wrote originally internally for the Red Hat OpenShift teams to help them keep track of what was going on across the project. Realized that actually the content was not particularly Red Hat oriented, and so I made it public. And then it's been going since then. And so it sort of complements Kube Weekly, which is a separate newsletter that covers what's going on in the Kubernetes ecosystem. And LWKD is just what's going on in the Kubernetes code base, basically.
So normally I would step up to help with this, Josh, but my newsletter pattern is full right now.
We would love to have extra contributors.
Okay.
But obviously we've been putting it out for the last 2 years with just me and Noah, so it's going to keep coming out. It's just that sometimes what happens is I'm at a conference and Noah is slammed with SRE work, and you end up with a very light or non-existent issue. So it would be lovely to have a third writer on it.
Great point.
Just for those times, if no other time.
What is the process to get involved?
So if you're into it,
you have
follow up with me on Slack, because basically we have a very simple process, which is we start on the issue on Mondays and start writing it. You can kind of see the format there. So if you wanted to try writing for it, then we would just coordinate on which portions you were going to take.
I'm DMing you right now. DMing you right
and the other thing is, we'd be into ideas for, because we've been kind of in the existing format for the last 2 years. So we'd be into ideas about other things that we should add or change or whatever. The current format exists because it's easy for me and Noah to put it out, and people seem to like it.
Yeah, I come with a fresh mind, so I came to know this LWKD right now.
Yeah.
So in the weekend, I'll go through it and see what sticks and what not sticks with me.
Yeah.
Maybe a mentoring would be a good thing for me as well, because you are in the system, like you are doing it for 3.5 years, but right now I'm coming here, like I don't know where do I look, what do I look, and how do I look. So I might need a lot of training wheels.
Although I'll admit that we might wait
definitely.
on this because I have ambitions to actually recruit you to be in charge of something for the contributor celebration. So
oh yeah, sure.
The which is kind of more critically in need of help.
Yeah. That is one thing. Yeah, sure. In the meantime, let's not forget it. I'll just DM you. Maybe we'll keep it as history so that when the ContribEx celebration finishes, I'll be like, okay, now I'm kind of free. Can you delegate me something so that, yeah, sure. Good thing. Thank you, Josh.
Just the theme for all of us here. There's always more places to volunteer in Kubernetes land. Just keep showing up and speaking up when you have the time, and it will become so.
I mean, I'd love to work for the newsletter as well, write for the newsletter as well, but I'm curious, what does the work look like? Because I mean, I can't imagine it being an easy task to figure out exactly what has been going on over the last 1 week, right? So any inputs on what you folks actually do when it comes to writing, how many sources do you need to check with, that kind of stuff.
Josh, do you want to speak to that, or do you want to take some time later and maybe we can do like a whole presentation on last week?
I don't think it deserves a whole presentation.
Okay, cool. Then jump in.
I mean, if people really want it, I'm happy to do it, but it feels overblown for what it is. So yeah,
I mean, it is a great question. I'm with Srikara, the Karan, that I don't actually know, like how are you aggregating that so that you know what to filter and sum up? Like,
okay, I mean, it's actually pretty simple, because the thing is that the other thing that kind of fed into it was I was on the release team a bunch of times, right? So you can see there it has several sections. One is announcements, which is stuff we know about that has been announced for contributors. The other thing that this group should know, actually, which is if we have something that we're trying to get out to contributors in general, and the rest of the channels are putting it out on, say, Tuesday or something, and you want it in LWKD for that reason, then just go ahead and ping me or Noah. Because we take just basically things that we know from the community and announcements and that sort of stuff. Anything that's been sent to Kubernetes dev, already, or put on the blog that is contributor oriented. Put it there, followed by information about the current status of the release, because that was kind of an important part of it. And obviously that's coming from the release team, and release engineering for patch releases. And then followed by the whole set of what got developed in Kubernetes. And so that's a combination of things. I generally do the summary. I pull everything that has a release note on it, that was done in the last week, and provide summaries of any of those that are not too obscure. And the definition of too obscure is either it's a minor bug fix, or it's a bug fix or something else on something that doesn't apply to most of our users, like a specific cloud provider. As far as I'm concerned, all the cloud provider stuff is past due to get out of core anyway, and so I'm not that interested in reporting on it. And I also look for deprecations. I try to actually have fairly comprehensive reporting on deprecations, simply because it's something that a lot of folks have complained that they don't become aware of until stuff stops working. And then usually we switch this up sometimes. Usually it's Noah who goes around and looks for really interesting changes in the code. So like major new features, things that involve serious refactors, things that involved new ideas that are worth writing up in a longer form for the weekly issue.
I don't know about others, but I would love to like have a screen recording of you two or going through these sources and like just one of us volunteering to write down what you're doing, like because I feel like linking to each of those things, linking to the views of the world you're going to, I mean, it's second nature to you after 3 years for sure, but it is far from nature to me. And I think that would be a big help to getting more contributors out of this group in my mind.
And this group is the right place to do the recruiting, Josh. So yeah.
I'll leave it to Chris to coordinate something as he steps into kind of managing the program here, but there's a there. There's something we can scratch at and get you a backlog of potential contributors.
And I wrote for my own newsletter like a writing.md file that spells out exactly the step-by-step process that I do in case I need to actually hand it off to somebody at some point, right? So you've got a good contributing MD here. It's just the rest of it kind of deal, how you get to the issues or features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to cement it too much, right? Because if we got a new person, one of the things I would hope to get with a new contributor would be some ideas for other kinds or other sort of styles of content.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. We have what we have now because it's what Noah and I can each produce in like an hour and a half every week. So but a new person would actually potentially have other stuff, which would be wonderful.
Yeah. And I think those messages are compatible, but helping people get to your default, like your baseline, so that they can improve from that baseline would, I'm seeing that as an opportunity ahead. And all the more reason for that project to exist in this working group. So wonderful. All right, folks, that's our full agenda for today.
Okay, wait, no, I had one other thing that I put under new items.
I got lost because somebody moved the
I'm sorry, it's all about me. Like I said, I usually don't make this meeting.
No, I like it.
And so I drag a whole bunch of stuff. So one of the other many hats that I wear is I'm a survey geek, and so I've kind of taken over handling official surveys for the project. Also, because of the CNCF's account status for SurveyMonkey, we cannot have multiple people have access to the SurveyMonkey account. Only one person at a time. So currently that one person at a time is me. It's usually me, although I can hand it off to somebody else if they really need it. It's just the handoff process is exclusive, and so it has to be coordinated. One of the things that came up this last week is we wrote this up. We've got it under comms, a document of how to request a survey. We have a template in the Kubernetes community repo for requesting a survey. At the time that we started this, there was an announcement on KDev that this was available as a service and how to ask for it. But then this last week, 2 different groups decided to concoct surveys and try to distribute them to our contributors without contacting either this team or me. And so I'm wondering, is there any good way that we can make people more aware that there is a process for surveys? And why this is important, not only for getting maximum impact on surveys by actually distributing them using the right tools, there's also the issue that if something's going to be an official community survey, there are standards, like it has to be GDPR compliant.
Right.
And that was actually a big issue with the recent student survey that I think we've got open as a ticket, where they wanted a blog post, etc. And I'm like, we can't distribute this officially through the community because it doesn't say who the survey belongs to or who's going to see the data or how the data is going to be used or how to remove yourself from it. Which is, by the way, for those of you not familiar, the requirements that we have for GDPR and surveys.
This sounds like it needs to be a page on the contributor or Kubernetes.dev site. Does that make sense?
It's probably a good idea.
How to do surveys.
Do we have? Yeah. I mean, I guess, do we have an appropriate?
We do. I think
sort of chapter there for it.
Yeah. Not under under resources, I think. You could totally put that there, right? Because services and requests are in there. We could add, we could either add it to the services and request page.
It's already on the services and request page.
Okay, perfect.
It's already there.
Jesus. Okay, so we need to
the problem is just
somehow.
that surveys are not something that any SIG does frequently. And and by not frequently, I mean like they do it once every 2 years. Wow. And so as a result, when they get around to doing a new one, they just don't remember that there was an actual community process for this.
I would say, like, I don't want to make more work out of this, but it's clearly like not like gotten the people's attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can obviously I can send a message to SIG leads reminding them that surveys are a thing. I'm just wondering, if there's any other way that we can blast it out to make people more aware of it for at least, a year or so.
I mean, we can blast it to KDev. We could blast it to, we've got the Slack bot, don't we? I forget how to interact with it.
Yeah, that feels a little too intense. We usually use the Slack bot for things like
emergency.
For things like, the release is going to be delayed or vote for the steering committee.
Regarding the surveys, like the few things that I observed, to get a good survey from the developer circles, let's say Flutter or the world of front end, is that they put up for a period of time, let's say for a week, for a 1 week or 2 weeks, they put up a pop-up in the actual website. If you are doing something with React, then they want to connect to the user in their docs page or whatever the React under react.dev or react.com, whatever the page you go, there'll be a pop-up coming out asking you to do a survey. So that kind of a thing we can also use in terms of Kubernetes also, like as a pop-up, like whatever the Kubernetes page you go, like kubernetes.com or under kubernetes.dev, you're going over there, a pop-up like for that one session. That's a single pop, not an annoying pop, like every page you go, you get. So we need to like have a cache on it or a config on it. So for the first visit, you will show a pop-up so that the user, they want to know it, they can fill it up. If not, they can leave it up. So that is one thing they can do. And other thing is like in terms of Flutter did it awesomely. They did it with their website, as well as Flutter has a VS Code plugin. So through that plugin, they had a pop-up coming up and then ask people to rate it out just by pulling the stars or whatever that's needed. So yeah, simply like that we can do it. Yeah, we can get ideas from other communities who are doing it superbly, and we can try to implement it here as well. So yeah.
Okay, so you think about it like for the Docker Shim survey.
We can do that as well. But if you want to get it into
because my request is more about not about how do we get more people to fill out surveys, although that comes up. It's more of how do we make sure that the SIGs and other teams know when they want to do a survey that they need to come to contributor comms.
But I think about it like it's a marketing messaging challenge. And like part of that means if people aren't using that path, there's an opportunity to have clearer ownership, so that we say everywhere, like one of the things, hey, we do contributor comms and also that surveys, but I don't know if we want to centralize that ownership or if we like people feeling like that. But you are suggesting like there's a requirement to get a consultation in order to send a survey. And I'm trying to figure out like what is the nuance there so that we can nail the messaging. And then we've got to go figure out like how do we get a message to permeate the contributor community. We have some playbook there of CTAs wherever people might go for the survey, and a little bit of an onus on us of like every 6 months have a blog post about why surveys are so cool. It sounds kind of cheesy, but like you could write that in your sleep, and it's fascinating. People don't know how good of a tool it is. But what do you think about that, Josh? Of like what do you want it to be owned? Like, do you want it to be like a strict ownership model for surveys, or do you like that it's loosely owned and we just want to reinforce that you should get a consultation?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel that somebody needs to come to, if it's going to be like a community survey, somebody needs to come to contributor comms for an actual editorial review of the survey before it goes out. Because particularly this last thing with this student survey, where he literally started sending it out on SIG channels without having had anyone else look at it. You know, we also have spammers that do that. And given the contents of that particular survey, it's impossible to tell the difference. So so to that degree, I think it actually, you know, should be owned. I mean, I think part of the messaging, you know, lead with what we have there, which is that, hey, we can help. We have access to the Survey Monkey account, which looks much more official and much more polished than Google Forms does.
Yeah.
And you know, we can get it broadcast in more channels so that you get more recipients, et cetera. But then follow up with, oh, also, if you want this to be a community survey, if you want to do a survey on behalf of the Kubernetes community, or you know, to the whole Kubernetes community, it has to go through contributor comms, because you know, we do have requirements to prove you're not a spammer. Because there are lots of, you know, marketing departments for individual companies who would love to use official Kubernetes channels to survey our users, and that is not permitted. So I also want an ownership message in there. I also want to say, you know, hey, we can help, and also if we don't help, you don't get to use the official channels.
Right. So another thing, you keep using the word official, which makes me happy, because it also tells me another like marketing, product marketing playbook tool is to brand it, like to literally stamp it like, hey, there's official surveys. And if you don't see the official survey stamp on it, signed off by Josh, then it's not actually official. Don't answer it. That's spam. Like we can make
that's a user safety message, right?
But like we need something. We need something to contrast against. So like, there's something really attractive about that.
Yeah, I probably got some malware mail that I have held on to that uses a Google form. So maybe we could screenshot that or something. I don't know. I keep some mail.
I have an idea for this.
Yeah, please go for it.
Yeah, for surveys, right? So when you have you guys seen these certificates that also show the domain name on them? So if we had official Kubernetes surveys, we can put certificates with the domain names on them, and we can get these certificates. They put like, you know, Google. I mean, no, sorry, not Google. Kubernetes, or like a lot of banking websites also have it. So supposing you go to this banking website, so just to make sure that you're not going to another SSL domain, they actually put the name of the bank in green. I think in Chrome it's orange or green, one of those colors on the browser itself. So
those are extended validation certificates. That's not necessarily something. I think actually Chrome is going to deprecate that feature, to be honest with you. Last I heard, because the way that you get the name in the certificate, like you just basically buy it, right? Like it's not, there's no, like the official process is you have to verify that you're with the company, but the official process is just send me an email too. So we'll need to check into that, but I don't necessarily want to muck with SSL certificates to get surveys out, because if we're using SurveyMonkey, that's going
to make sure
and we actually have a much simpler mechanism, which is we can simply say that official surveys either are going to come from the CNCF SurveyMonkey account or from the Kubernetes.io Google account.
Yeah. Sunshine, I just want to make sure, did we hear you correctly? You're thinking about going down the pathway of certificates?
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. About domains also, you're right. I mean, if we can restrict it to a domain like Kubernetes, I think everyone who's going to be signed up to a mailing list will see that Kubernetes domain in the address bar. So anything that spam should not technically have a Kubernetes domain, right? On any spam service. If we don't sign off on it, I don't think they're allowed to host on Kubernetes.io.
Right. Cool. All right. I just want to make sure we heard your suggestion, because yeah, it doesn't sound like the path we're going to take, but thank you for thinking through it and sharing it.
Yeah, I think I overthought a bit, where I was like,
no,
I've seen these bank surveys have that, bank websites have that certificate with the company on it.
Totally. Yeah. Over engineering a problem. That's a hobby for many of us.
Yes. That's my life.
Cool. So I think that definitely, what do you say we bring this up next week and really explore what options are to, or start a doc and maybe asynchronous, start talking through what does official survey look like for Kubernetes. We can recap it next week in a meeting, but I feel like I want to make it easy for people to talk asynchronously. And also, yeah, we're at the top of our time. See you, Dewan. Does that sound like a good next action?
Let's go ahead and open an issue.
Good call. Appreciate you.
Right. So I have two questions.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. First, who exactly does the requests need to go through? Contributor comms, yes, but who are the two people, Josh and?
Well, it's honestly contributor comms, right? Like,
Okay.
if it's going to be a SurveyMonkey survey, it's currently me due to account restrictions. But it might not, it won't necessarily be that way in the future.
Okay.
So it's more that it needs to go through contributor comms, right?
Yeah. Srikant, very wise to demarcate those two things, right? Like, what are we saying we want to be the truth, and what is the truth? We'd like it to be true that coming to us as a group will get it done, but in practice it's been Josh, so like we're trying to make those two things on which align up in the next month or
and which I don't mind, because I'd rather help with the survey than see people put out bad surveys. Bad surveys are just like painful to me.
I feel that energy.
I would much rather tag Josh with a good survey than
cool,
just have them flying out the door.
The second question is a tad more silly, but Chris, why do you have email with malware in it?
Oh, I use it as a good example of phishing attempts and stuff like that, right? Like,
and this is something that happens on a regular basis. You sharing
to me, yes.
Phishing attempts?
People try to fish me all the time.
sharing phishing attempts.
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, at least once a year.
It's dangerous being friends with Chris. Yeah.
I know for first hand, like Chris, if you give him the right equipment, he can bring down satellites.
That's true.
Because I know the story.
Set up a satellite downtime, and then he'll set up a satellite downtime page.
No.
After that.
No. Streaker, not satellite downtime. I'm talking about bringing down an actual satellite.
I might set up a page for when the satellite was down.
All right, this is on a recorded line, and for the sake of everyone's identity and freedom, we will.
That, to be frank, that session was also recorded. He just
that
admitted
is
that in
knowledge.
Red Hat.
I didn't
Red Hat
actually
page.
take the satellite out of the sky. I just jammed it.
Yeah.
To be clear,
he just jammed it.
It didn't exist according to anybody else.
Yeah, like I'm not saying some confidential things. This is what Chris shared in Red Hat, which so yeah.
Just looking to protect folks. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Chris,
and one
do
more
you
question.
have a background in security research or any security testing and stuff like that?
I have a government background, so in general, yes.
That's cool, actually, to be hearing.
Yeah, I do remember.
That's how
Chris,
you don't mess with someone when they've got a government background.
Chris, I don't know you remember this or not, but we have a thing that when we meet, we are going to bungee jump or we are going to skydive. We remember that.
I don't know if my doctor's going to sign off on that, but we'll see.
I volunteer as tribute for you, buddy.
Okay, there we go.
I'm down to do that. You too, Kaslin? Yeah.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I have something, a long pending issue on, this awards and all those things. So since we were exploring about SEO, like improving the issue of the kts.dev site and coming up with new contents. So I found this one, like I put it in the, this in the docs.
Whereabouts?
There you go. It's about documenting the awards and what awards are presented to the contributors. So since the contributor summit is coming up and the work is going on that, I guess we don't have any such documentation on what awards are getting awarded, and some awards are given in KubeCon also. So if we get that documented under the KDEP site, so it would be good. I think I talked with Paris regarding this this week. Actually, she only has come up with this issue, and it has been pending since a long time. So what are your views on this?
Are you saying you want to tag in and try to get it on the site?
Yeah, I can help getting it documented, but yeah, I don't have any idea how it is getting done. Like I don't know what all awards are getting given and how they are given. So I just can help in documenting if I get the resources.
I know they ended up getting it into a repository. It's under CNCF/awards.
Is that okay?
And yeah, I would just kind of check back in on like, is this something we want to link to and replicate on a page on the .dev site? I also don't see 2021 in here, so it's one of those. Yeah, the year we forgot. Yeah. It's going to be a challenging one, but if you want to explore it, that's where I would start by asking, like, is this the information we would want on the .dev site?
Oh, yes, also that's.
And Ray looks like he's got a link to the playbook of how to do it.
Yeah, that's for the contributor awards.
Cool. Thank you.
Contribution awards.
I have a very basic question. So in this SIG, like every SIG has a goal for people to come and contribute. So what is like, I'm a newcomer here. How do I start contribution here? Like, do we like this SIG oversees what all SIGs are doing and then collect those metrics and try to propagate to right channel? Or
no. Yeah, I can tag in there that the core of what we do is we focus on helping other contributors communicate to contributors. So the very first thing we've been doing is like, we have a lot of writers. So people come in and we say, if you're willing to write, we can set you up with an assignment to go talk to some SIG leads and document a story about them and get published. If somebody has an article that they're trying to get written and it needs copy editing or support, we help get that message out. Some of us build some tools on the side to support that, mostly Rajula, thankfully, and some people that are following in his footsteps. But I think that's really the core of it. Like, if you're asking, like, what's your first possible deliverable? Like, for me, showing up and adding your opinion, like, you've already contributed, like, you've helped a lot today. Number two, like, the next place down your funnel of contribution would be like, do you want to write? And if so, we actually have a plan in progress for Kubernetes.dev. And we are, yeah, if you're interested, come back next week and we'll talk through that.
Sure. Thank you. I'll be there.
You bet. No, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, for to kind of be respectful of people's time, we say this stops 10 minutes before the hour and we're 5 of, so there's just too many good questions and really wonderful people. So thank you for being here. We'll follow up in GitHub issues for official documentation, and in Slack if you want to casually catch up or continue conversations, please do. Great to see you all. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye all.